Beloved, as we step into this sacred Friday, I sense a divine summons echoing in the spirit, an invitation for you to come into alignment with the very purpose God designed for your life. Heaven is leaning in today. The atmosphere is shifting. Every step you take from this moment forward is being recalibrated, realigned, and repositioned by the hand of God. You did not arrive here by accident. You were drawn here by destiny. God is preparing to order your steps with precision, with power, and with prophetic accuracy. There is a divine pathway already carved for you, and today the Spirit of the Lord is calling you to walk in it boldly. Every misstep, every delay, every detour is being corrected in the realm of the Spirit. You are about to move in sync with heaven's rhythm. The things that once confused you will become clear. What once felt heavy will lift. Where there was uncertainty, there will be supernatural direction. Today is a day of spiritual alignment, where your feet begin to walk where your faith has always known you belong. So as we prepare our hearts for this powerful prayer, I want you to stay expectant. God is not only speaking, he is shifting, positioning, and activating something within you. Like this video and subscribe to the channel for daily prayer. Write amen in the comments. And also comment one thing you're believing God for today. Your declaration is the first step into divine alignment. Your steps are divinely ordered, even when the path feels uncertain. There are moments in your journey when you can't see more than one step ahead, when everything around you seems hidden behind a veil, when answers feel delayed and direction feels vague. Yet in those very moments, heaven is the most active. God is orchestrating the details you cannot see, arranging alignments you have not yet discovered, and guiding you with a precision that is far greater than your understanding. The uncertainty you feel is not a sign of abandonment. It is a sign that you are walking by faith. It is the evidence that you are being led by a God who sees beyond the horizon, who understands the terrain, and who knows exactly where you are going. You may not see the full path, but you are still being carried by divine intention. Every step you take, even the hesitant ones, is being woven into a larger story, one that God himself authored before you took your first breath. In the quiet spaces of your life, when your heart is wrestling with questions and your spirit is searching for peace, God is already speaking. Sometimes his voice is the gentle nudge prompting you forward. Sometimes it is the stillness that keeps you from moving too quickly. And sometimes it is the discomfort that pushes you out of places where you no longer belong. Divine order does not always feel like order when you are in the middle of it. It can feel like stretching, waiting, pruning, and shifting. Yet everything God allows is pushing you into alignment with where you are meant to be. The steps you take today are not random. They are part of a process that has been sanctified by heaven. You are being positioned with purpose, even through the moments that seem confusing or incomplete. There are seasons when God reveals the next step only after you have taken the first one. This is not to frustrate you, but to train your faith. Faith is not developed in certainty. It is shaped in the unknown. When you keep moving forward, even when you do not fully understand, you declare to the heavens that your trust is in the one who leads and not in your own ability to navigate. Every step of obedience becomes an invitation for God to reveal more. Every moment of surrender becomes a doorway to clarity. Your path unfolds as you walk, not before you walk. And the more you trust, the more you will find that God has already arranged provision before you arrive, answers before you ask, and strength before you realize you need it. Even the detours you've taken, even the mistakes you've made, even the moments where you wish you had chosen differently, none of them disqualify you from divine order. God is not limited by your past. He incorporates it. He turns wrong turns into wisdom, delays into preparation, setbacks into leverage. You are not behind. You are not late. You are not lost. You are in the hands of a God who redeems time, who restores what was broken, and who guides you with a love so intentional that even your missteps become part of your alignment. You are walking a path that God is constantly shaping for your good. You may feel uncertain, but heaven is certain. You may feel unsure, but God is sure. You may feel like you are navigating through fog, but God sees the entire landscape clearly. There is a peace that comes when you begin to understand that divine order is not something you create. It is something you follow. It is the art of listening, the discipline of surrender, the posture of trust. God does not expect you to have all the answers. He simply asks you to stay connected to his voice. Your life may be unfolding in ways you did not expect, but it is not unfolding apart from God's control. He is directing your pace, guiding your footsteps, and guarding your journey. What looks like delay is often protection. What feels like confusion is often redirection. What seems like stillness is often preparation. You are walking a path that is guided by divine intelligence, shaped by divine hands, and sustained by divine grace. In the moments when your heart feels overwhelmed, when the weight of the unknown feels heavy, pause and remember who is leading you. Remember that your life is not being tossed by circumstance. It is being carried by purpose. You're not wandering. You're being led. You are not guessing. You are being guided. The Spirit of God goes before you, beside you, and within you. Every step you take is being synchronized with heaven's timing. Even when you do not feel God's presence, his guidance is still active. Even when you cannot trace his hand, his order is still governing your path. There is a rhythm to God's leading, sometimes slow, sometimes swift, sometimes silent, sometimes loud, but always intentional. You may feel like you are standing still, but God may be working beneath the surface, preparing doors, aligning relationships, clearing obstacles, and setting things in motion. Sometimes the path is revealed through opportunities, sometimes through closed doors, sometimes through divine connections, sometimes through separation. Yet all of it contributes to the ordering of your steps. Nothing is wasted, nothing is random, nothing is accidental. God is in every detail, shaping every moment, guiding every decision. As you continue to walk, you will begin to see the evidence of his order. Moments that once confused you will make sense. Delays that once frustrated you will reveal their purpose. Prayers that once felt unanswered will show themselves as protection. God is not just guiding your steps. He is guiding your growth. He is shaping your character so you can carry the destiny he has prepared. You are being molded into someone who can handle the places God is taking you. Your uncertainty is not a sign of weakness. It is a sign that you are being prepared for something greater than what you can see right now. The path before you may not always be straight, but it is always secret. You are walking a journey that has been blessed by God's intention. Every day he is aligning your heart, your mind, your decisions, and your steps with his purpose. Even when it feels like nothing is happening, everything is happening. Heaven is working behind the scenes, arranging circumstances, directing conversations, opening and closing doors, and weaving together opportunities that will soon manifest. You are moving in divine sequence, guided by a God who sees the end from the beginning and the beginning from the end. So breathe, lean in, trust the process. Your steps are not only guided, they are guarded. You are being led with a love that will not fail you. The God who ordered the universe has also ordered your path. The God who aligned the stars has also aligned your days. The God who orchestrates the movement of galaxies is orchestrating the details of your destiny. Even when you feel uncertain, you are still walking in divine certainty. Every step you take is carrying you closer to the fulfillment of God's purpose for your life. And even in the unseen places, you are being divinely guided toward everything he has ordained for you. Alignment with God's purpose requires intentional surrender and spiritual sensitivity. It is not something that happens by accident. It is something you step into with awareness, with openness, and with a heart that is willing to yield. There comes a point in your walk where you begin to realize that purpose is not discovered through striving. Purpose is revealed through surrender. When you release your need to control every outcome, when you release your need to understand every detail, when you release your attachment to your own timelines and expectations, you create space for God to lead you into the fullness of what He designed. Surrender is not weakness. Surrender is strength under divine guidance. It is the act of placing your will in the hands of the one who sees beyond time, who knows the end before the beginning, and who has already mapped out the pathway that leads you into destiny. Spiritual sensitivity is the posture that allows you to hear, perceive, and discern God's direction, even when circumstances are loud and distractions surround you. It is the ability to sense the shift in the atmosphere before anything changes externally. It is the awareness that comes when your heart is quiet enough to hear God whisper, when your spirit is aligned enough to recognize His prompting, when your mind is still enough to perceive His leading. Many people want God's purpose, but they are too busy to hear Him, too distracted to sense Him, too hurried to follow Him. Alignment requires slowing down internally, even when life feels fast. It requires listening with the heart, not just the ears. It requires watching with the spirit, not just the eyes. When you become sensitive to the movement of God, you begin to recognize that He is always speaking, always guiding, always positioning, even in ways that feel subtle or gentle. Purpose unfolds through obedience, and obedience flows through surrender. Every time you choose God's way over your way, something inside you becomes more aligned. Every time you quiet your fears and trust His voice, you step deeper into destiny. Every time you let go of the things that tug your heart away from God, people, patterns, habits, distractions, you make room for divine alignment. This journey is not about perfection. It is about willingness. You may not always get it right, but if your heart is inclined toward God, He will guide you back whenever you drift. He will gently pull you forward whenever you slow down. He will redirect you whenever you wander. Alignment is a dance between heaven's direction and your willingness to follow. It is a partnership where God leads and you yield. Intentional surrender means choosing God even when choosing yourself feels easier. It means trusting His timing even when your timeline feels delayed. It means allowing Him to close doors that your emotions wanted to keep open. It means believing that His not yet is just as loving as His yes. It means accepting that spiritual alignment may require letting go of things that are familiar but not purposeful, comfortable but not fruitful, present but not aligned with where He is taking you. There are relationships that may not survive where God is leading you. There are mindsets that cannot follow you into your next season. There are environments that are not compatible with your calling. When God begins to align your life, He will sift, separate, prune, and purify, not to hurt you, but to position you. Spiritual sensitivity deepens when you become aware of the subtle movements of the Holy Spirit. Sometimes it is a feeling of peace that confirms you are on the right path. Sometimes it is a discomfort that warns you to reconsider. Sometimes it is an inner knowing, a holy conviction, a gentle stirring. And sometimes it is the silence that invites you to wait. Sensitivity develops in stillness, in prayer and worship, in moments when you intentionally step away from noise and allow your inner world to settle. The more you quiet your soul, the more clearly you hear God. The more you seek Him, the more visible His purpose becomes. The more you trust Him, the more aligned your steps become with His divine blueprint. Alignment with God's purpose is not a one-time event. It is an ongoing journey. There will be days when you feel completely in sync with heaven and days when you feel out of rhythm. But even those moments of misalignment can become opportunities for realignment, recalibration, and restoration. God does not abandon you when you step off course. He guides you back gently. He uses conviction to redirect, peace to affirm, and circumstances to shape your direction. The goal is not to walk perfectly, it is to walk consistently. And consistency comes from surrendering daily, listening daily, following daily, and trusting daily. There will be seasons when alignment requires you to wait, even when everything in you wants to move. Waiting is not a setback. Waiting is a strategy. In the waiting, God strengthens your faith, renews your mind, purifies your motives, and rebuilds your confidence. When you learn to wait with trust, you develop spiritual muscles that cannot be built in motion. And when God finally releases you into your next step, you will walk with a stability that comes from being grounded in Him, not pressured by circumstances. There will also be seasons when alignment requires immediate action. Even when you feel unprepared, God may call you to step into opportunities that stretch you, to speak when your voice trembles, to move when your legs feel unsure. In those moments, obedience becomes the key that unlocks destiny. God does not expect you to feel ready. He expects you to trust that He is ready. Your willingness opens doors that your confidence cannot. Your surrender activates blessings that your strength cannot. Your obedience releases divine alignment in ways you could never orchestrate on your own. To align with God's purpose, you must be willing to examine what influences you. Not every voice deserves access to your spirit. Not every opinion deserves room in your heart. Not every environment feeds your calling. Spiritual sensitivity sharpens when you discern what nurtures your growth and what hinders it. You begin to sense when a conversation drains your spirit, when a habit pulls you off course, when a pattern keeps you stagnant. And with surrender, you begin to let go of everything that blurs your vision of God. Alignment requires humility, the willingness to admit that God's way is higher, wiser, and safer. It requires patience, the willingness to allow His timing to unfold without forcing your own. It requires trust, the willingness to believe that even in the unseen, God is working all things together for your good. And it requires courage, the willingness to step into the unknown with confidence in the one who holds your future. This is not passive living. This is intentional alignment with the author of your life. As you surrender more deeply, you will begin to feel a peace that surpasses understanding. This peace becomes the internal compass that guides you. It anchors you when life feels unstable. It steadies you when emotions rise. It reassures you when your mind tries to overthink. Peace is not the absence of conflict. It is the presence of divine order. And where God's purpose is active, His peace follows like a shadow. You will also begin to notice that alignment unlocks clarity. Questions that once overwhelmed you begin to simplify. Decisions that once felt heavy become lighter. Confusion begins to dissolve. You start to see things from God's perspective rather than your own. Clarity is not always a full picture. It is often just enough light for the next step. But that light is sufficient because it comes from a source that cannot fail. As you walk with spiritual sensitivity, you begin to recognize God in places you once overlooked. You see His fingerprints in conversations, in timing, in unexpected opportunities. You feel His presence in quiet moments and busy moments alike. You sense His leading in your intuition, in your dreams, in your desires. Divine alignment becomes a lifestyle, not an event. It becomes the lens through which you see your life, the posture through which you make decisions, the foundation upon which you stand. Intentional surrender opens your spirit. Spiritual sensitivity tunes your heart. Together, they draw you into a life where you no longer strive to create your own path. You simply walk the one God designed. You are not lost, you are being led. You are not confused, you are being refined. You are not wandering aimlessly, you are being aligned day by day, moment by moment, breath by breath. Through surrender and sensitivity, you begin to live in a flow of divine direction, where God is not just a part of your life, He becomes the one who orders every step, shapes every season, and guides you into the fulfillment of his purpose for your existence. Every misalignment in your life is being corrected by heaven's intervention. Even in the moments when you feel like things have gone off track, when you sense that you have wandered too far, or when it seems that the path ahead has become tangled with uncertainty, God is already at work behind the scenes, straightening what became crooked, reordering what became scattered, and realigning what drifted out of place. Heaven responds to misalignment with mercy, not condemnation. God steps into the areas of confusion, into the spaces where choices were made from fear rather than faith, into the seasons where you moved faster or slower than his timing. And he begins the work of restoration with the gentleness that calms the soul. Nothing in your life is beyond his ability to correct. Nothing is too tangled for him to undo. Nothing is too broken for him to reorder. Divine alignment is not just about walking correctly. It is also about being lovingly restored when you have. There are times in life when misalignment doesn't happen all at once. It happens gradually. It begins with a small compromise, a slight distraction, a subtle drift of the heart. And before you realize it, your spirit feels distant, your clarity feels clouded, and your direction feels uncertain. But heaven is not surprised by these moments. God does not shame you for drifting. He draws you back. His spirit whispers in the quiet places, gently reminding you of who you are and inviting you back into the rhythm of grace. Sometimes heaven corrects through conviction, a holy nudge that tells you something is not in harmony with your soul. Sometimes heaven corrects through discomfort, an internal restlessness that signals something needs to change. Sometimes heaven corrects through closed doors, divine protection that shields you from stepping into something that would have hindered your destiny. Every form of correction is a sign of God's love, not his disappointment. Misalignment often reveals itself in the form of heaviness. When you carry burdens that were never assigned to you, when you hold on to relationships that no longer serve your growth, when you engage in patterns that drain your spirit, your inner world begins to lose balance. But God never leaves you in that imbalance. He begins to rearrange the pieces. He begins to lift the weights. He begins to shift the things that are pulling you off center. Sometimes he removes you from environments that cannot sustain your calling. Sometimes he separates you from voices that drown out his direction. Sometimes he brings you into seasons of quiet so your spirit can recalibrate even when it feels like lost. Heaven is at work restoring alignment. Divine correction is not harsh. It is healing. It does not come to break you. It comes to rebuild you. God knows how to realign your steps without crushing your spirit. He knows how to restore your focus without overwhelming you. He knows how to redirect your path without making you feel defeated. Heaven's intervention always comes with tenderness, even when the process feels stretching. There are moments when God allows certain things to fall apart because they were never meant to hold you. There are moments when he gently dismantles your own plans because they were too small compared to the destiny he prepared. Alignment sometimes looks like interruption, but every interruption serves a purpose, shifting you away from what distracts you and guiding you toward what strengthens your soul. Every misalignment carries a lesson, and heaven uses that lesson to sharpen your discernment. When you misstep and God brings you back, you become more aware of his voice. When you drift and he restores you, you become more sensitive to his leading. When you choose wrongly and he redirects you, you gain wisdom that shapes your future decisions. Nothing is wasted, not even the moments when you felt lost. God turns your misalignment into wisdom, your confusion into clarity, your regret into purpose. He transforms what seemed like setbacks into stepping stones. The journey becomes richer because of the places where God carried you back into alignment with such intentional love. Sometimes misalignment shows up emotionally. You may feel unsettled, restless, overwhelmed, or confused. These emotions are often spiritual indicators, signals that something in your life is no longer aligned with who you are becoming. God meets you in those emotions, not to judge you, but to guide you. He begins to highlight what needs to be released, what needs to be healed, what needs to be forgiven, what needs to be transformed. Emotional turbulence becomes the soil where spiritual clarity grows. Heaven steps into those moments and begins the gentle work of recentering your heart. Slowly, the heaviness lifts. The confusion softens, the clarity returns. The peace increases. God doesn't just correct your steps. He corrects your inner world. Heaven also intervenes through people. There will be individuals God sends to speak truth into your life, to encourage you when you feel stuck, to challenge you when you compromise, and to uplift you when your faith feels weak. Sometimes God uses others to gently pull you back into alignment, to remind you of who you are, and to point you toward the direction your spirit has been longing to follow. And sometimes heaven corrects alignment by removing people who are pulling you off your path. Whether through addition or subtraction, every relational shift has purpose when God is guiding it. There will be seasons when misalignment comes from holding on too tightly to what God is trying to move you away from. You may cling to old habits, familiar environments, or relationships that once supported you but now limit you. And God, in his love, begins to create distance. He begins to close emotional doors. He begins to uproot desires that are not aligned with your destiny. This can feel uncomfortable, but discomfort is often a sign that transformation is underway. Heaven is not trying to take something from you. It is trying to make room for something greater. The moment you release what is misaligned, you create space for what is divinely appointed. Divine realignment also happens through revelation. There will be moments when God opens your eyes suddenly, giving you insight into something you overlooked. He reveals where your energy has been misplaced, where your boundaries have been too loose, where your priorities need adjusting. These revelations are gentle but powerful, shifting your perspective and helping you see from heaven's viewpoint. One moment of revelation can realign months of uncertainty. One word from God can straighten a path you've wrestled with for years. Heaven intervenes not only externally, but internally, reshaping the way you think, perceive, and respond. Misalignment does not disqualify you. It prepares you. It teaches you how to depend on God, how to listen more closely, how to trust more fully. It builds humility, resilience, compassion, and depth. You begin to understand that alignment is not about being perfect. It's about being responsive. The more responsive you become to the movements of God, the more effortlessly your life flows in harmony with his purpose. Even when you step out of rhythm, heaven helps you find your way back. What matters is not how many times you drift, but how quickly you return when God calls you home. Heaven's correction brings peace, it brings clarity, it brings grounding. When God realigns your steps, you begin to feel a renewed sense of ease, a calm confidence that rises within you. You feel lighter, clearer, more focused. Your decisions begin to flow from wisdom rather than emotion. Your direction feels guided rather than guessed. Your heart becomes steadier, your mind quieter, your spirit stronger. You begin to walk differently, not hurried, not anxious, not uncertain, but steady, intentional, and peaceful. That peace is the signature of divine alignment. As God works in your life, correcting what drifted off course, you will begin to notice subtle shifts. Old desires lose their pull, new passions emerge. Opportunities that once attracted you no longer appeal to you. Doors you once knocked on no longer interest you. Your steps become more purposeful because your spirit has become more aligned. What once distracted you no longer influences you. What once confused you no longer shakes you. And the more heaven corrects your path, the more your soul comes into harmony with God's original design for you. Every misalignment is an invitation for deeper intimacy with God. It is a chance to slow down, breathe, and listen more closely. It is a chance to reflect, recalibrate, and surrender again. Through this process, your relationship with God becomes more personal, more alive, more anchored. You begin to trust him more deeply because you have seen his faithfulness in guiding you through your own imperfections. You begin to rest more confidently because you have witnessed how gently he handles your vulnerabilities. You begin to walk more boldly because you know he is committed to aligning every step with his purpose. Heaven's intervention is constant, continuous, and compassionate. It does not appear only in dramatic moments. It shows up quietly in your decisions, in your thoughts, in your desires, in your conversations, in your reflections. God is always working to align you even when you are unaware. He adjusts your steps through grace, not pressure. He brings clarity through peace, not fear. He leads you with patience, not force. And as he corrects each misalignment, you become more attuned to his voice, more receptive to his guidance, and more aligned with the destiny he prepared for you long before you ever took your first step. You are not walking alone. You are being guided, held, restored, and redirected by a God who is deeply invested in your future. Every misalignment is temporary. Every moment of confusion is transitional. Every detour is redeemable. Heaven is not watching passively. Heaven is actively intervening, shaping your path with love, wisdom, and precision. Your steps are being corrected. Your heart is being centered. Your mind is being renewed, and your life is being aligned with everything God has written for you. Walking in purpose demands breaking agreement with distractions, delays, and detours. It requires a level of spiritual clarity that allows you to recognize when something is pulling you away from the path God has laid before you. Purpose is not fragile, but your attention is precious. And when your attention is divided, your focus becomes diluted. When your focus is diluted, your progress becomes slowed. When your progress slows, your spirit begins to feel disconnected from the flow of divine alignment. God's purpose for your life remains constant, but staying aligned with that purpose requires intentional choices. Choices to release what no longer serves your growth. Choices to step away from what drains your spirit, and choices to silence what competes with God's voice in your heart. You cannot walk deliberately toward destiny while holding hands with distraction. You cannot move forward while still entertaining what keeps you stagnant. Purpose demands a clear and steady heart. Distractions often come in subtle forms. They are not always loud, obvious, or harmful on the surface. Sometimes they come as harmless routines, familiar conversations, comfortable patterns, or commitments that no longer carry meaning. They can appear as opportunities that glitter but are not God ordained. They can show up as people who speak to your insecurities instead of your identity, or situations that feed your fears rather than your faith. Distractions gradually pull your attention away from what matters most, drawing your energy into things that do not produce spiritual fruit. When God calls you deeper, distractions attempt to keep you shallow. When God calls you forward, distractions tempt you to stay comfortable. And though distractions may seem small, they can weaken your momentum if left unchallenged. To walk in purpose, you must practice discernment, the ability to sense when something is misaligned, even if it looks appealing. Discernment grows when you quiet your mind enough to hear God clearly. It expands when you create space for reflection, prayer, and stillness. The more aligned you become internally, the easier it is to recognize what is pulling you off center. There will be moments when you suddenly realize that certain conversations no longer nourish your spirit, that certain environments no longer reflect who you are becoming, or that certain habits no longer fit the person God is shaping you to be. These realizations are divine invitations to shift, to adjust, to release. When you honor these invitations, You begin to walk with greater clarity and intentionality. Delays are another challenge to your purpose, but not all delays are negative. Some delays are divine. They come to protect you, to prepare you, to mature you. They come to strengthen your foundation so that you can sustain the weight of the calling ahead. But other delays are self-imposed. These are the delays that arise when fear holds you back, when indecision keeps you stuck, when procrastination becomes a habit, or when comfort becomes more appealing than growth. There are moments when God has already opened the door, but you hesitate to walk through it. There are seasons when the opportunity has already been presented, but you second guess your capability. These self-imposed delays slow your progress, not because God is withholding anything from you, but because you have not yet gathered the courage to move forward. Purpose requires movement. It requires action. It requires stepping into the unknown with trust, even when the next step feels overwhelming. Every time you choose to break agreement with fear, doubt, or hesitation, you activate a new level of purpose within you. You begin to realize that delays lose their power the moment you decide to move. You start to see that clarity often comes after obedience, not before. And you discover that progress does not require perfection, only willingness. Detours are another part of the journey. Some detours are orchestrated by God to bring you into alignment with places, people, or experiences that are essential to your growth. Divine detours may feel inconvenient in the moment, but they carry wisdom that shapes your destiny. However, there are also detours that come from distraction or self-driven decisions. These detours can pull you into unnecessary battles, emotional exhaustion, or environments that do not reflect the direction God is taking you. Yet even in these moments, God remains faithful. He has a way of turning every detour into a lesson, every misstep into a point of clarity, every wrong turn into wisdom. But purpose calls you to learn from these moments so that you do not repeat cycles that drain your spirit. Walking in purpose is not a passive experience. It is an active, intentional, daily alignment. It is choosing what feeds your spirit rather than what entertains your emotions. It is choosing discipline over comfort, focus over distraction, and obedience over hesitation. It is choosing to let go of narratives that no longer reflect your identity and releasing relationships that do not evolve with your destiny. It is choosing to silence internal voices that tell you you are not enough and replacing them with the truth of God's word about who you are. You must become the guardian of your purpose, protecting your mind, your time, your energy, and your spirit with intentionality. Purpose requires boundaries. There will be conversations you cannot engage in, environments you cannot stay in, habits you cannot return to, and people you cannot carry with you into your next season. Not because you are better than anyone else, but because your assignment requires clarity. Your calling requires focus. Your destiny requires a purified environment where your spirit can breathe freely. Some attachments hinder your elevation. Some influences dilute your spiritual strength. Some relationships drain your purpose without you realizing it. Walking in purpose demands that you recognize these dynamics and make choices that honor your growth. Breaking agreement with distractions also means breaking agreement with the internal noise that keeps you from hearing God. Sometimes the distraction is not external, it is internal. It is the fear that whispers different outcomes. It is the overthinking that complicates simple steps. It is the insecurity that questions your worth. It is the doubt that tries to undo what God has already spoken over your life. These internal distractions can be louder than anything happening around you. Learning to silence them requires spiritual discipline. It requires speaking truth to yourself, reminding yourself of God's promises, and anchoring your mind in what is eternal rather than what is emotional. Walking in purpose demands consistency, not perfection, but consistency. Showing up even on days you feel unqualified, moving forward even on days you feel unsure. praying even when you don't feel immediate answers. Purpose is built through repeated acts of obedience. It is strengthened through daily surrender. It is deepened through reflection and awareness. With each consistent step you take, you build momentum. And with every bit of momentum you build, distractions lose their influence over you. To walk in purpose, you must also learn to recognize divine timing. There will be moments when God calls you to accelerate and moments when he calls you to pause. Purpose does not always unfold in a straight line. It unfolds in seasons, in rhythms, in waves. Learning to move with God's timing protects you from unnecessary frustrations. When you trust his pace, you begin to see how everything aligns with intention. You realize that delays are not denials and detours are not derailments. They are part of the sacred rhythm that prepares you for the fullness of your calling. Every choice you make either aligns you with your purpose or pulls you away from it. The more intentional you become, the clearer your path becomes. You start to sense when your spirit is at peace and when it is unsettled. You begin to feel when a decision flows with grace and when it feels forced. This internal awareness becomes a guide, helping you distinguish between what is purposeful and what is simply present. As you honor this awareness, you begin to walk with a deeper confidence and spiritual ease. Purpose requires decluttering your mind from old beliefs, decluttering your heart from old wounds, decluttering your space from old energy, and decluttering your time from old patterns. Every bit of clutter removed creates space for clarity. And clarity is essential for direction. You cannot walk in purpose while carrying the unnecessary weight of yesterday. You must allow God to lighten your load so that you can move freely into what he is calling you to. As you break agreement with distractions, delays, and detours, you begin to feel an internal shift. Your spirit becomes more focused, your heart becomes more aligned, your mind becomes more disciplined, your decisions become more purposeful. You start to walk with a quiet confidence, a sense of knowing that you are being guided by something greater than yourself. You begin to notice that the things that once tempted you no longer hold the same power. The things that once slowed you down no longer feel appealing. The things that once confused you now appear with clarity. This shift is the unfolding of purpose. It is the awakening of your spirit to the reality of who you are and who you are becoming. It is the divine rhythm of alignment drawing you into the fullness of your destiny. Walking in purpose is not merely about reaching a destination. It is about becoming the person who is capable of carrying that destiny with wisdom, strength, integrity, and grace. When you commit to breaking agreement with everything that does not align with God's plan for your life, you begin to move with purpose, speak with purpose, think with purpose, love with purpose, and live with purpose. You become intentional in the way you steward your gifts, your relationships, your responsibilities, and your time. You walk with a deeper awareness that every step you take has meaning, every decision carries weight, and every moment is shaping you. Purpose begins to flow through you, not as something you chase, but as something you embody. It becomes the lens through which you see your life. It becomes the foundation upon which you stand. It becomes the compass that guides your direction. And as you walk, you carry a peace that is rooted in knowing you are exactly where God desires you to be, free from distractions, free from delays, free from detours, and fully aligned with the destiny he has prepared for you. God is positioning you for supernatural clarity, direction, and accelerated progress. Even in moments when your path feels clouded, when decisions feel heavy, or when the next step seems hidden behind uncertainty, heaven is actively arranging everything concerning your life. God is not only leading you, he is positioning you. Positioning is intentional. Positioning is precise. Positioning means that God is placing you exactly where you need to be so that clarity can reach you, so that direction can rise within you, and so that progress can unfold without resistance. You are not wandering, and you are not waiting without purpose. Every season of stillness, every moment of reflection, every shift in your environment is contributing to the divine placement that prepares you for what is ahead. God aligns your steps, not only so you can walk, but so you can walk with confidence, clarity, and purpose. Supernatural clarity is not something the mind produces. It is something the Spirit reveals. It arrives softly at times, like a whisper that settles in your soul. It arrives strongly at other times, like a sudden knowing that you cannot explain, but cannot dismiss. Clarity is heaven's way of illuminating what was once hidden. It is God shining a light on your next step, your next decision, your next direction. And before he gives you clarity, he positions you. He clears out unnecessary noise. He disconnects you from voices that blur your vision. He brings you into moments of quiet so you can hear him more distinctly. Clarity requires space. And God is creating that space within you and around you. There are seasons when God hides clarity to protect you, not because you are not ready for the path, but because the path is not ready for you. He works in the unseen places to prepare opportunities, align timing, and strengthen your character. When the moment is right, clarity comes with ease. Suddenly, what once confused you becomes simple. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once appeared uncertain begins to feel peaceful. God's clarity is not chaotic. It does not rush you. It does not pressure you. It settles you. It grounds you. It opens your spirit to recognize the direction you have been searching for. Direction is one of the greatest gifts God gives to his children. When he directs you, he is not merely giving you instructions. He is guiding you into purpose. Divine direction begins on the inside before it manifests on the outside. It forms as a conviction, a feeling of peace, or a gentle pull in your spirit. When God directs you, he aligns your desires with his will. He strengthens your intuition so you can sense his movement. He organizes your thoughts so they point toward the path he has chosen. Divine direction is not always loud, but it is always steady. It does not confuse, it confirms. It does not frustrate, it frees. It creates a steady confidence within you that lets you know you are being led, even if you do not see the full picture ahead. As God positions you for direction, he begins to shift certain things in your life. These shifts may feel unexpected, but they are purposeful. You may feel drawn away from certain relationships, responsibilities, or environments. You may sense a need to slow down, to reevaluate, to reassess what truly aligns with your spirit. These inner prompts are part of how God directs you. They are gentle nudges toward alignment. When you follow these nudges, you begin to see how every step you take leads you toward a path that fits your spirit, your calling, and your destiny. Accelerated progress does not mean rushing. It means movement without hindrance. It means God removing obstacles that once slowed you down. It means he is placing you in environments where your growth can flourish and your purpose can unfold. Acceleration is a divine rhythm where things begin to unfold faster, smoother, and with greater ease. You may look back and realize that seasons of stagnation were preparing you for a moment when everything suddenly moves forward in alignment. God accelerates you when he knows you are ready to carry what comes with progress. Often, accelerated progress comes after moments of pruning or redirection. God removes what drains your energy and brings what strengthens your spirit. He closes doors that distract you and opens doors that empower you. He shifts your relationships, your resources, your opportunities, and even your mindset so that you can move into your next chapter with clarity and strength. What once felt difficult begins to flow. What once felt distant begins to manifest. What once felt impossible begins to take shape. Acceleration is not a coincidence. It is a confirmation that your alignment with God is becoming stronger. Before acceleration comes preparation. God prepares you internally by developing discipline, patience, wisdom, and discernment. He prepares you externally by aligning the right opportunities, the right connections, and the right timing. You may not understand every shift you are experiencing, but each shift is guiding you into the place where progress can flourish. Every delay, every pause, every recalibration has been part of your divine positioning. God does not rush the process, but when the appointed time comes, he accelerates it with supernatural grace. Supernatural clarity also requires detachment from the noise around you. There are many voices in life, opinions, expectations, doubts, fears that try to speak louder than God's direction. As God positions you, he teaches you how to filter these voices. He teaches you to distinguish the voice of truth from the voice of fear. He teaches you to follow peace rather than pressure, purpose rather than people. Clarity comes when your heart is anchored in God. When you stop striving for answers and start resting in his presence, direction begins to rise from within. The clarity God provides is often progressive. It reveals itself step by step. God gives you just enough insight to take the next step, knowing that each step will bring you closer to a more complete view. Like walking in candlelight, you may not see the entire path, but you see enough to move forward with faith. This progressive clarity builds trust. It teaches you how to walk with God, how to hear him, how to recognize his hand in the details of your life. As divine direction becomes clearer, you may begin to feel certain desires awakening within you, desires that reflect God's purpose for your life. These desires are not random. They are spiritual indicators, pointing you toward the path God has prepared. You may feel drawn to new roles, new environments, new responsibilities, or new levels of growth. As you follow these holy desires, acceleration begins to unfold naturally. You move into alignment with a grace that carries you forward. God's positioning also involves removing confusion from your path. Confusion is often a sign of misalignment, and clarity is always a sign of divine presence. As clarity rises, confusion falls away. As direction strengthens, uncertainty weakens. As alignment deepens, acceleration increases. This is how God guides you into your destiny, through peace, through clarity, through alignment, through divine prompting. Heaven orchestrates details you are unaware of. God speaks to people on your behalf. He touches the hearts of those who will open doors for you. He arranges meetings, conversations, and opportunities that appear at the exact moment you need them. What seems sudden to you is not sudden to God. It is the unfolding of a divine plan that has been in motion long before you understood it. You are stepping into a season where the things God planned for you are beginning to converge. As you move forward, you will begin to feel things align effortlessly. The right words, the right timing, the right opportunities, the right people. You will feel a sense of flow rather than resistance. You will sense movement instead of stagnation. You will notice patterns that confirm God's hand guiding your direction. This ease is not accidental. It is supernatural. It is a sign that God is positioning you for progress that is not born of your strength, but of his divine orchestration. Walking in purpose becomes easier when clarity is present. You no longer feel torn between choices. You no longer feel confused about your next step. You no longer feel overwhelmed by uncertainty. Instead, you feel anchored, steady, grounded. You begin to walk with a confidence that comes from being led rather than guessing your way forward. God's clarity brings order to your mind. His direction brings peace to your soul. His acceleration brings fulfillment to your journey. And as you move into alignment with him, you will begin to experience a new rhythm, one where progress is not forced, where clarity is not chased, where direction is not strained. Instead, everything begins to unfold with a calm assurance. You are entering a season where God is making your next steps clearer, your spirit stronger, your mind sharper, and your path more defined. He is positioning you not just for movement, but for meaningful, purposeful, accelerated progress. You are being aligned with divine timing, divine wisdom, and divine strategy. The uncertainty is lifting, the confusion is fading, and the clarity is rising. You are being positioned for supernatural breakthroughs, supernatural movement, and supernatural unfolding of everything God has written over your life. Every step you take is guided. Every decision you make is supported. Every direction you follow is aligned with His purpose for you. God is positioning you, shaping you, preparing you, and leading you into the fullness of destiny with clarity, with direction, and with an acceleration that only heaven can produce. As we close this sacred moment together, allow your heart to rest in the truth that God has been speaking directly to your spirit. Feel the calm settling over you, the quiet reassurance that His hand is still upon your life, guiding every breath, every step, every decision. You are not walking alone. You're being led by a God who is deeply invested in your journey, and even now, He is aligning the path before you with divine precision. Let peace fill the spaces where worry once lived, and let trust rise where fear once whispered. Take a moment to breathe in the presence of God, knowing that everything you have prayed, everything you have surrendered, everything you have released today is resting safely in His hands. He is actively working behind the scenes, shaping your steps, restoring your hope, healing your heart, and positioning you for the next chapter of your life. You may not see all the evidence yet, but heaven is already moving on your behalf. Your spirit is being strengthened, your vision is being sharpened, and your path is becoming clearer. Let your soul be comforted by the truth that God's timing is not delayed and His purpose for your life is unfolding exactly as it should. There is no misstep He cannot correct, no detour He cannot redeem, and no season He cannot use for your good. Trust that every moment, both the quiet ones and the challenging ones, is shaping you into the person who can carry the fullness of your calling with grace and strength. You are being prepared in ways you may not fully understand, but the preparation is holy and the process is necessary. As you move forward from this moment, carry with you a renewed awareness of God's presence. Let His peace guide your emotions, let His wisdom guide your thoughts, and let His Spirit guide your decisions. Continue to walk with intentionality, with clarity, and with a sensitivity to the gentle whisper of His voice. Know that with every step you take in alignment with God, you are stepping deeper into your purpose, your promise, and your destiny. Stay open, stay surrendered, and stay expectant. And as you go, hold this truth close. God is not finished with you. He is just beginning a fresh chapter. May your steps be steady, your heart be anchored, and your spirit be filled with quiet confidence. If this prayer has blessed you, like this video and subscribe to the channel for daily prayers. Write amen in the comments and share one thing you're believing God for today. Your declaration is a seed that heaven will honor.